Hi, folks, and welcome to Business Management 2. So, my name is Yumna, and I'll be taking you through this course in business management. Um, this year, we have recurriculated the Business Management 2 course, which means we're using a different textbook from what we used last year. You should have all received the textbook. It's called Operations Management, or rather, Global and Southern African Perspectives Operations Management, third edition by Nigel Slack, Brandon Jones, and a few other authors. Okay, so I want to welcome you once again to this new mode of delivery that we are using, which makes use of technology, recordings, online interaction, etc. How we're going to proceed for the next few weeks with this course is that we're going to have slides like these uploaded on Call Campus for you, and then also recordings where I explain the content. And then we also have some live sessions where we can be online together at the same time. And then we can have discussions and we can have more interaction. In addition to that, I will also from time to time on Call Campus on the discussion board, I will post topics for discussion. I'll post, questions that you can respond to. Now, what is important about this is that it facilitates what we call peer-to-peer learning. So like we would have in the classroom, we would have interaction and students having discussions. All we're doing now is we're having those discussions in an online forum, and it allows you to learn from your peers. Okay, so what is operations management about? That is the topic of chapter 1, as well as the topic of this course. Well, operations management is everywhere and all around you. If you are sitting today and you're fortunate enough to have electricity and no load shedding, then that was operations management that has been conducted on behalf of Eskom to make sure they keep the lights on. And unfortunately, if you have had load shedding today or yesterday or this week, then obviously something has not gone right in the operations management at Eskom. Myself, just before recording this little Zoom session, I enjoyed a lovely chocolate. So very soon you guys will get to know me, and I am a fan of Simba chips and chocolates and cupcakes. And these are my go-to foods, my relaxation, my guilty pleasures. So I enjoyed a Tex chocolate, courtesy of the Nestle company. Where did I buy this Tex? I went shopping to Pick n Pay. Operations management made it possible that that chocolate was on the shelf in the Pick n Pay that I shopped at. Okay, so operations management is evident in all firms, goods producing entities, as well as service producing entities. I am talking to you now courtesy of I have a contract with MTN for data. They are providing me with a service, and their operations have worked if you are able to view this Zoom session. Okay, so we're going to get into all the nitty-gritties of operations management very soon. Okay, so please keep an eye out and ear out every time you are going shopping, you're using a particular product. Think about everything that went into bringing that product to you. So what went into bringing the Tex chocolate to the shelf in Pick n Pay and into my home? What operations go into MTN, making sure that they have Wi-Fi coverage, that I have data available so that I am able to do my work, which is lecture online, as well as use the data for recreational purposes and watch movies, etc. Right, so the first chapter in the textbook is titled Operations Management, and it starts off, if you look on page 3 in the textbook, the key questions. So the key questions in each chapter should be an indication of the learning outcomes. So the way I designed this course, so I have been lecturing now at Boston Media House for 6 years. I've been doing the same course. Last year, when we recurriculated, I was asked to redesign the lesson plans, etc. So what I did is all of the key questions, I've tied them to the learning outcomes. And basically that is tied to what you need to be able to do and answer in your assessments. Okay, so the first part is what is operations management? And the textbook gives you an example of operations management in practice. There's a lovely case study for you to read through on page 3, and it's regarding Woolworths. So Woolworths is a very large retailer. It's a very big operation. They have both the clothing side of Woolworths, and then they also have the Woolworths food. Shopping at Woolworths food is one of my favorite places. As a very busy lecturer who works at Boston and at other institutions, I rely heavily on the convenience foods, yogurts, desserts, etc. that Woolworths produces, since I don't have time to do this myself. Okay, so Woolworths is a large operation. They're not only in South Africa, they are in neighboring African countries. They are also in Mauritius, and they run huge operations, large numbers of products that they produce, or rather that they have produced for them to be able to sell, all the way from clothing, accessories, homeware, to foods. Okay, so in a nutshell, on page 5 onwards, they'll explain what operations management deals with. And basically, it's about managing resources that create and deliver services or products. So remember, some firms like MTN deliver me a service. Data, cell phone connectivity is a service. Other firms like Woolworths, I buy my food from, my desserts from, my cupcakes. They produce products. So Woolworths has a lot of resources that they have to manage, and then they have to do that with the final aim of delivering the products. So the products that people want available when they want it and where they want it. Okay, so the next point talks about the operations function being central to an organization, because obviously the operations function has to liaise with other departments or functions in a business, such as marketing, uh, product development, finance, etc. And you can read more about this on page 5 in the textbook. Then I also say refer to figure 1.2 on page 6 of the prescribed book. So there you can see examples of operations management in different organizations. So hospitals, we all are aware, currently I'm sitting here recording this video, and we are in the second wave of the COVID pandemic. We know that hospitals are terribly overwhelmed. We read about people who say, they have to drive around to find a hospital, etc. And so the operations of hospitals currently are very strained. They do not have the capacity in terms of beds, in terms of nurses, doctors, medication, to deal with the large numbers of COVID patients, etc. Okay, so a hospital is an operation. They have to manage that operation to make sure they have enough beds, enough staff, enough medication to be able to give adequate care to everybody that comes into a hospital. Okay, so I put a little activity down there. Please take note of the activities, think points. They get you to start thinking along the lines of what we're covering, and later on we'll incorporate these activities into online discussions. Okay, so the first part is quite important of this chapter, where you start to get to grapple with what is operations management, why it's important, what it deals with, etc. Okay, then we move on to a very important model or theory in operations management, and we call that the input-output transformation process. So what operations management does is it basically transforms some form of an input into an output. Okay, so we'll talk about Simba chips as a basic example first. So some of the inputs that Simba uses are potatoes, seasonings, machinery, and then they take that potato and they fry it, or they first of all they cut the potatoes, they fry it, and then they put those lovely seasonings and flavorings on them, they transform it, and then it's an output packaged into a bag of chips, either a small bag or a big bag, different flavors, and then it's distributed to all the retailers and spaza shops and hawkers all over, and that's what you then get. The output is a tasty snack. Okay, so Samba uses inputs, they then transform those, and the output is a tasty snack. Samba is an example of a company that produces goods. We also can think about your hairdresser. Your hairdresser gives you a service. Okay, so they use certain inputs, shampoos, equipment for the hair. They then transform your hairstyle, and the output is now a new look for you. Okay, so the input-output transformation process is applicable to every organization. It's just that the inputs differ, so the materials, information, customers can be regarded as inputs. The transformation can happen via facilities. So at Simba, they're using high quality, sophisticated machinery to do the production of the chips. At your hairdresser, they're using staff to transform, to cut your hair, style it, whatever. And then the output can be a product or a service or both. So if I go to a hotel, I am enjoying both a product and a service. When I arrive at the hotel, I'm booking in, I'm staying at the hotel, then I'm ordering food, I'm ordering products. So the output in a hotel can be products and services. All right, so finally, before I stop for this recording and continue this chapter in another recording, we talk about processes being an integral part of operations management. So what are processes? Well, when you came to Boston Media House, you had to go through the process of application. The day you go for some of you already probably have driver's licenses. I was one of those people who only got my driver's license when I finished my degree. You have to go through the process of first learning to drive, then making a booking to go and do your learner's license, then writing your learner's license, then passing it, then perfecting your driving, then making a plan or an appointment to do your driver's test, then taking your driver's test, and then either passing or failing. So once all of that, for me, it was quite a painful process. Took me 3 tries, no 2 tries, and on the 3rd try only I got my driver's license. I still remember the trauma of this, although I'm driving for a very long time now, but it was quite a process, okay? So in every organization, there are different processes, and it is the job of operations managers to manage those processes. So the textbook talks a little bit about business processes. I want you guys to also think about, different processes for different things. If you want to fly overseas when borders open again, then you have to apply for a passport. Once you have a passport, to visit most countries in the world, you need a visa. There's a process you need to follow to apply for a visa. And then your visa is either accepted or rejected, and then you are able to either visit the country or not. Okay, so folks, that today, this recording that I've done has just basically introduced the topic of operations management and explained what operations management is. We've discussed a little bit about a very important part of operations management, which is the input-output transformation process. And then we've discussed what processes are. Okay, so I'll stop there for this recording, and I'll continue with the rest of this chapter on another recording.